Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instruction on completing the task at hand. Visit my YouTube channel and watch my disclaimer video. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you find the information you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. Okay, in this video I'm going to try to show you how to carefully take the fuel rail apart so that you don't damage any of the injectors and hopefully not the seals and different stuff like that. These are the tools you need to get a fuel injectors out of the fuel rail. 10mm socket to get the fuel rail loose from the intake manifold. 3/8" ratchet to drive that socket. A T25 torque driver. Take a couple of fuel line brackets loose. Some rubber gloves because there will be a lot of fuel in the rail and you don't want to get that fuel on your hands. 17mm box end wrench or an adjustable jaw wrench if you take the fuel supply line loose from the rail. Grab the front of the injector guard and jerk it up. Make sure you don't have any injector wires in your hands when you do that. Before you start taking the rail apart, you might want to unscrew this thing here on the end of the rail. So you'll have to take the guard off of the throttle body and take a screwdriver or something and poke it in the edge of that to relieve the fuel pressure. You can also start the car, and while the car is running, you can pull the fuel pump relay or the fuel pump fuse and let the car die to get some pressure off the rail as well. Next thing you want to do is unplug the injectors one by one and move the wires out of the way because you don't want to damage those. So you push the release clip in on the injector and work the injector plug off one by one. Just go all the way across and get those off. Okay, now when you're taking this injector rail off or apart, you got to have a goal and a plan. What I'm dealing with my goal is, I think I have a seal leak up here on the top of the injector where the injector goes into the rail. So I want to replace that seal. I'm not going to be able to replace that seal and all the rest of them be good. So I got a seal for every one of them. Get a T25 and take those brackets off, probably 2 locations. Set those brackets where you won't lose them. Next thing you want to do is take these 2 10mm bolts loose, holding the fuel rail onto the intake manifold. Now that I got the fuel line loose from over top of the motor, and I got the injectors unplugged and the 2 bolts out that holds it to the intake manifold, I'm going to slowly try to work it up. When you're going to take the fuel rail off, you need to make a decision if you're going to leave it attached to the fuel line or not. I think in most cases you can leave the fuel line attached. That fuel line is circled in red. It's a 17mm. You could break it loose and take it off if you want with a crescent wrench or 17mm, or you can leave it attached and just pull the rail up and swivel it a little bit up so you can get the fuel injectors out. Again, you would want to remove the clamp that's circled in green, and there may be another clamp a little bit on the back side of the motor that's a yellow arrow is pointing to. So you remove those fuel line clamps, and you shouldn't have to remove or disconnect that fuel line that's in circled in red. But if you want to lift that rail all the way out away from the motor, then you will have to disconnect that fuel line that's circled in red. Now on some of the cars like this 98 S70 GLT, and maybe the T5 is the same, you got your 2 rail mounting bolts circled in red. Then you have a fuel line or a vacuum line clip to the rail in between those 2 bolts. That's pictured in yellow. So you need to release that clip and remove those 2 bolts, and then grab the rail with 2 hands, preferably close to where those mounting bolts are, and work that fuel rail up towards you and out of the intake manifold. There's seals in the intake manifold that you don't want to lose. So you got those seals there, And then the injectors actually have 2 seals on them. Let me get this injector out of this rail real quick so I can show you the two seals for each injector. Okay, I twisted this injector back and forth while I was pulling it out of the rail. But you got to make sure you pull straight down out of this rail, because if you bend it and you crack the injectors are like $100 a piece. At any rate, here's a seal at the top of the injector, and here's a seal at the bottom of the injector. The kit I have has 10 seals in it, 5 for the bottoms and 5 for the tops. So I'm going to use a little tweezers or little screwdriver or something, work these seals off of here without damaging the injectors. Then I'm going to put some petroleum jelly or oil on my new seals, and then I'm going to pop these back up into the top of the rail, and then make sure all my seals are in an intake manifold and put the injector back down on the intake manifold. But as you can see, that fuel line did allow me to lift the rail up high enough to get the fuel injectors free from the intake manifold. Alright, I did get all 5 injectors out of the rail. You can stand the rail up. They are hard coming out, so you do have to wiggle them a little bit to get them out, but don't break them off, bend them and break them off. And every one that came out with some fuel. So you'll also want to make sure you have some gloves on so you don't get fuel on your hands. Okay, I pulled another rail up, and I had to work it up with both hands, kind of pulling on it, wiggling a little bit till it popped loose from the intake manifold. It doesn't seem to have those intake manifold seals on them, but it does have the seals on the end of the injectors. But the difference with this one is it's got a little fuel injector holder running across the bottom of the rail. With that end of it still connected, you can just spin this injector rail over like that. So I turned it over, and it's got these 3 torque screws. So if you got this kind, remove these 3 T25s, pull that metal piece off, then you should be able to get your injectors off. Now, if you had the kind of fuel rail with the 2 fuel lines on it, you probably won't be able to spin it around like this, but you will be able to lift up on it and feel or see if you can see this little thing on there. If you can, then you may have to twist it up a little bit to get a screwdriver under there to get those screws out. But anyway, I went on ahead and pulled those screws out, and this little metal piece comes off of the rail like that, and now I can get the injectors out one at a time. But like I said, you got to be careful you don't break an injector when pulling them out. You may want to even spray some little WD-40 or something on there to help these seals let loose. But anyway, that's how they come out. So you see, it takes a little force to get those seals to let loose of the injector rail. And of course, when you put these back in, if these seals are lubricated, they may go in a little easier, but make sure you get those injectors pushed all the way in the top of the rail here, and then all the way in the bottom of the rail there. If you feel that this information was beneficial, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can also subscribe to my channel so that you can get notification of future videos that I post. Visit my channel. I have all types of do-it-yourself videos there. You can leave questions here, and I'll try to respond to them as quick as possible. You can also visit my website at robertspinner.com. Thanks again for watching.